The story begins in 1937, where we meet Lyudmila Pavlichenko. She went to a shooting range with her friends, where she was given 5 bullets, just 5 chances that would decide her future. People standing nearby laughed at her, but they all fell silent as Lyuda fired all 5 shots straight into the target. Her aim was so perfect that everyone watching was left stunned because no one had ever achieved such a score before. When news of her performance reached the Red Army officers, they called her out of college and immediately selected her for 6 months of special sniper training. However, when Lyuda told her father that she had been chosen for the program, he strongly objected and forbade her from going. As an army officer, he knew how ruthless war could be, especially for women. But Lyuda no longer had room for fear. Her only dream was to become the deadliest sniper, so she ignored her father's wishes and left for training. Later, one of her friends took her to the beach and introduced her to her brother Boris, a military doctor. Boris fell for Lyuda the moment he met her and quickly decided he wanted to marry her. That evening, he even introduced her to his family. But Lyuda had no interest in marriage because her only goal was to become an elite sniper. Just then, the radio announced that Germany had invaded the Soviet Union and enemy forces had already crossed the border. Instantly, everything changed. Boris begged Lyuda not to join the army, saying he didn't want anything to happen to her because she was a woman. The fear in his voice was obvious, but Lyuda was determined to fight for her country. She turned down Boris's proposal and walked away. That was the moment she left her old life behind. Lyuda devoted herself completely to training. She learned not only how to shoot, but also how to survive. She was taught how to strike from hiding, remain perfectly still for hours without making a sound, and stay alive for days without food or water. She learned to endure pain, hunger, and exhaustion until she became the perfect hunter. After 6 months of brutal training, Lyuda emerged as a deadly and exceptionally accurate sniper. Now she was finally ready for real combat. She was assigned to the Western Front, where German forces had already occupied Soviet territory. Her captain ordered her to eliminate the German commander first, because taking him down would destroy the enemy unit's morale and stop their advance. The mission was clear, but the path ahead was extremely dangerous. As they moved forward, a sudden air raid began. Explosions, dust, screams, and death surrounded them. Many Soviet soldiers were killed as chaos spread across the battlefield. For a brief moment, everything fell apart. Lyuda herself came dangerously close to death, but she managed to recover. Then a hail of bullets filled the battlefield as the ground shook beneath them and the air filled with gunpowder. Amid the chaos, Lyuda quickly pulled her rifle out of the dirt. Her heart was racing, but she focused on the tiny viewing slit of a German tank and pulled the trigger. The bullet struck the driver, sending the tank out of control before it exploded moments later. Then, seizing the right opportunity, Lyuda took out the German commander as well. The moment he fell, the enemy's morale collapsed, and the German soldiers began retreating. After this victory, the Major General personally came to congratulate Lyuda and presented her with a new sniper rifle. During their conversation, he realized she was the daughter of one of his old friends. He encouraged her and instructed her commander to take special care of her. While the commander was explaining the rifle's features, Lyuda's closest friend Masha arrived. Now serving as a doctor, seeing her brought a smile to Lyuda's face. By then, Lyuda had spent many days on the battlefield, and during that time she had begun falling in love with her captain. The captain also realized how she felt, but he kept his distance because he had already lost his wife in the war and knew how painful it was to lose someone you loved. The very next day, the battlefield was once again soaked in blood. German forces were overwhelming the Soviets. Wounded soldiers lay everywhere as screams and pain filled the air. Worried, the captain rushed to the front searching for Lyuda, only to discover that she had changed her position and moved dangerously close to the enemy, trying to eliminate 3 German soldiers with a single shot. The moment she fired, the enemy spotted her position, and a hail of bullets followed. One bullet grazed her hand. The captain immediately provided cover and pulled her back to safety. Furious that she had disobeyed orders, he scolded her. By then, Lyuda had already eliminated 73 enemy soldiers, and every mission was making her even more dangerous. That evening, a soldier entered the captain's tent with orders that their unit would be relocated to Crimea at daybreak. Meanwhile, Lyuda was receiving treatment for her injuries. During that time, Masha's boyfriend arrived with a friend, and they all had dinner together. After Masha left with her boyfriend, the other man inside the tent tried to force himself on Lyuda. The commander was outside, but before he could step in, Lyuda brutally beat the man herself. Just then, the captain entered the tent, but Lyuda stormed out in anger. After that, the two finally grew closer because the captain also had feelings for her. He had only kept his distance out of fear of losing her. The next day, the battle resumed. As Lyuda and the captain prepared their position, another air raid suddenly began. A massive explosion struck the exact spot where Lyuda was digging a trench, burying her beneath the dirt. Dust and debris filled the air, making it hard to breathe. Without a second thought, the captain dug through the soil with his bare hands and pulled her out alive. She survived, but her injuries were severe. She was rushed to a hospital where the doctor treating her was Boris, the same man who had once wanted to marry her. Sometime later, Lyuda regained consciousness and found the captain lying beside her. She confessed her love to him, leaving Boris heartbroken because he still loved her. When the captain learned about Boris's feelings, he told him that once Lyuda recovered, she would decide for herself whom she wanted to be with. Until then, Boris should continue taking care of her. The hospital was overwhelmed with wounded soldiers, and medical supplies were running short, so it was decided that the injured would be evacuated by ship. But as the ships reached the open sea, German fighter planes suddenly attacked, killing many wounded soldiers and sinking several ships. Cries of death echoed everywhere. Yet Lyuda somehow survived the disaster. Soon afterward, Soviet fighter planes launched a counterattack and shot down the enemy aircraft. After several months of treatment, Lyuda gradually made a full recovery. Her body was still weak, but she was ready to return to the battlefield. Then she learned that many soldiers from her unit had been brought to the hospital, including Captain Makarov. Alarmed, she searched everywhere for him, until another sniper told her that Captain Makarov had been killed in battle. The sniper then handed Lyuda the rifle the captain had left for her. Hearing the news, Lyuda's hands began to tremble and tears filled her eyes, but she refused to break down. Instead, she gathered herself, determined to avenge the captain's death, and headed to army headquarters. There, she met the major general, but he made it clear that she could return to the battlefield only if a doctor declared her fit for duty. So Lyuda went straight to Boris and asked him to sign her medical clearance. Boris refused because she had not fully recovered yet, but Lyuda told him that Commander Makarov had been killed and she had to return to protect her people. With a heavy heart, Boris finally signed the certificate. Lyuda gave him one final goodbye kiss and, without looking back, returned once again to the path of death. This time, she was assigned to the Sevastopol front, where she met a new sniper captain named Leonid, now her commanding officer. He informed Lyuda that their mission was to hunt down and eliminate German snipers, but for Lyuda, it was no longer just a mission. It had become personal revenge. She wanted to kill every German responsible for taking away the man she loved. Leonid tried to make her understand that revenge slowly destroys a person from within, and if revenge is the only reason someone keeps living, then that person is already dead. He told her he did not want to lose anyone else in his unit. His words were simple but meaningful. Their silent hunt soon began. Month after month, the two hid in different positions searching for enemy snipers. Sometimes they covered each other from a distance. Sometimes they remained perfectly still for hours. Whenever the right opportunity came, they silently took down their targets. One after another, they hunted down the German snipers who posed the greatest threat to Soviet soldiers. With every mission, Lyuda's score continued to rise, and she had now eliminated more than 200 German soldiers. One day, during a mission, they spotted several German soldiers celebrating Christmas in the open. Without hesitation, Lyuda and Leonid took them out because war offered no second chances. After working side by side for many months, Leonid quietly fell in love with Lyuda. Then came a cold evening in 1942 when they attended a New Year's celebration. There, Lyuda introduced Leonid to Boris. When Leonid asked how long Boris had known her, Boris admitted that he had loved Lyuda since before the war and was still there because of her. The pain in his voice was unmistakable. Moments later, the atmosphere changed when a few soldiers claimed Lyuda had earned her rank by sleeping with officers. Enraged, Leonid brutally beat the soldiers and in front of everyone kissed Lyuda, openly confessing his love. Boris's heart broke once again. This time, Lyuda accepted Leonid's love, leaving behind some of the grief she had been carrying. As time passed, the two grew intimate. Afterward, they returned to their missions and spent several more months destroying enemy positions and hidden German snipers. One day, Lyuda's friend Masha told them she was going to marry her pilot boyfriend. But when Lyuda and Leonid returned from their mission and arrived for the wedding, they learned that Masha's fiancé had been killed in the war. The loss left Masha completely devastated. They had promised to spend their lives together, but promises made during wartime rarely survived the battlefield. Lyuda tried to comfort her, but she had no cure for that kind of pain. Not long afterward, Lyuda told Leonid that she was pregnant and wanted to get married. Leonid replied that marriage meant nothing in the middle of a war because they were living under the shadow of death every day. Upset by his answer, Lyuda walked away. The next day, during another mission, She remained angry and refused to respond to anything Leonid said. Suddenly, Leonid stepped on a hidden tripwire, and the German landmines buried nearby began exploding one after another. Blasts echoed all around them as they ran for their lives, but they were completely surrounded. Leonid shielded Lyuda to protect her. When the dust finally settled, Lyuda saw that Leonid had been critically wounded. His body was giving out, but Lyuda lifted him onto her shoulders and struggled toward the base camp. She was injured herself, yet she kept calling for help without stopping. Eventually, several soldiers reached them and took over, but by then, Lyuda had lost consciousness. When she finally woke up, Boris was standing beside her. Lyuda repeatedly asked where Leonid was, until Boris finally told her the truth. Captain Leonid had died. Hearing those words, Lyuda fell into deep shock because everyone she had ever loved had ended up dying in the war. Just then, an officer arrived with several soldiers, but Boris stopped them, saying Lyuda was not well enough. The officer then showed them a newspaper clipping claiming that the Germans had spread the false news of Lyuda's death. That was exactly why she had to return to the battlefield. The enemy needed to know that Lady Death was still alive. By then, Lyuda had become such a terrifying figure to the Germans that they trembled at the mention of her name. They had given her the nickname Lady Death because she had already eliminated 300 German soldiers with her sniper rifle. To keep that fear alive, the officer photographed her holding her rifle and asked her to smile so the world would believe she was still alive. But inside, Lyuda was already broken. Tears ran down her face, while to the officer it was just another photograph. After recovering physically, Lyuda decided she would never return to the war. She submitted her medical certificate to the commissioner, clearly stating that she was unfit for military service. But the commissioner refused to let such a legendary sniper leave. He repeatedly pressured her emotionally, reminding her that she still had to avenge Leonid's death. Then he showed her a photograph of a German sniper who had been sent specifically to kill her, one of Germany's deadliest marksmen. If he was not stopped, countless Soviet soldiers could die. Left with no choice, Lyuda accepted the mission and took position at the designated location to wait for him. This time, her opponent was just as dangerous. The entire day passed without a single movement, as if both snipers were silently waiting for death to reveal itself. Night fell, but Lyuda remained in position, thinking of Leonid. At sunrise, she realized blood was still flowing from her wounds, and if she stayed any longer, she might not survive. Taking the risk, she stepped out of her hiding place. At that exact moment, she spotted the German sniper. She fired instantly, but he fired at the same time. His bullet tore through her shoulder. Lyuda slowly walked over to him and saw that her shot had struck him directly in the neck. He was dead, but there was no satisfaction in her victory. Beside his body, she found several photographs of him smiling with his wife. She paused for a brief moment, but there was no place for such emotions in war. Only a few days later, the situation grew even worse. The fighting became so brutal that destruction could be seen everywhere. Continuous bombing, endless gunfire, and the collapsing morale of the Soviet army made it clear that the Germans would soon capture the city. The military began evacuating Sevastopol. During this time, Boris met with the major general and requested that Lyuda be evacuated. He reminded him that Lyuda had eliminated 309 enemy soldiers, survived death 4 different times, and deserved the chance to live as well. The general allowed Boris to leave but refused to evacuate Lyuda because the politicians had to be evacuated first. Boris refused to give up. He spoke with another officer and somehow managed to arrange Lyuda's escape. Pushing through thousands of frightened civilians, chaos, and the shadow of death, the two finally reached a submarine. There, Boris confessed that he still loved Lyuda and promised that after the war they would marry and spend their lives together. Smiling, Lyuda finally agreed. But everything changed the very next moment. As she boarded the submarine, she realized Boris was not coming with her. He had given Lyuda his own boarding pass, which meant only one of them could leave. Boris smiled and told her he would take the next submarine. Lyuda kept calling out to him, but the soldiers pulled her inside and sealed the hatch, separating them forever. At the end of the story, it is revealed that the defense of Sevastopol lasted for 250 days before the Soviet army was finally forced to surrender to Germany. General Petrov escaped aboard 2 submarines. The first carried classified documents and valuable supplies, while the second carried only 80 commanding officers. Meanwhile, nearly 100,000 civilians and soldiers were left behind to die, even though they could have been evacuated. Boris's sacrifice was the reason Lyuda survived. Later, when she opened his bag, she found the ring he had wanted to give her. Now, all she had left were his memories because Boris never returned, and their dream of getting married remained unfinished. In 1942, the Soviet government sent Lyuda to the United States in recognition of her bravery, where where she asked Western nations for support. She received a grand welcome. Newspapers across the country published her photographs under the name Lady Death. During her visit, she met First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who held deep respect for her. Later, Lyuda became an instructor at the Soviet Sniper Academy. After the war, she was honored as one of the Soviet Union's greatest heroes. The story then moves to Moscow in 1957, where Lyuda is seen quietly attending an opera with her son. Though she appeared calm, the pain still remained in her eyes. She still had the son of the man she loved, Leonid, who had died in the war in 1942. This story is filled with sacrifices and a sense of loss that can never truly be healed. And with that, the movie comes to an end. Let us know your thoughts about the story in the comments.